This game's going to boil down to one thing: respect. Both of these teams are going to have to show the utmost respect for this fixture. Kaizer Chiefs learned last week that, you know what, you can't go pound for pound with Pirates. You can't enter a game and commit many people forward and not be caught out. You look at Pirates, and maybe Pirates had too much respect for Kaizer Chiefs owing to the fact that they had a little bit of confidence issues. But what they're going to have to contend with this time is, now that your confidence is back, can you tone it down and respect the team? Can you tone it down, Nkotha, after walking all over them for the last 20 minutes last game? Can you tone it down and respect the fixture? Because this is what this game is going to call for. Now, let's talk about the two teams. I'm going to start off with Kaizer Chiefs. Like I said, Kaizer Chiefs came into that game and played a typical Kaizer Chiefs game from this season. You start the game, you commit many players forward, you score a goal somehow, maybe even two. And then you spend the rest of the game sort of defending. You spend the rest of the game waiting for the other team to come at you, and you hope that you can hold it. Earlier in the season, two things were going well for Kaizer Chiefs. Number one, they were scoring a lot of goals. That early flourish, the 15, 20, 25 minutes at the beginning of the game, they were able to get 2 goals, sometimes 3 goals out. But then when the goals started drying out, it starts affecting the secondary part. Because once you've got 2 goals, you've got a 2-goal lead to defend, which means you've got something already in the pocket, and if you can just survive long enough, you leave with the 3 points. But the moment those goals started drying up, you got into a game where now the defense is not defending a lead, the defense is trying to stop another team from scoring. And that pressure was always breaking them. So now you go into this game and you look at some of the habits that Kaizer Chiefs has developed. 6 players up front. Modi, Lilepo, Duba, Sirino, you're watching Kimangobo running in, Mart is going in, Solomons is making an overlapping, inverting run up top. And as great as that looks when you're watching them, it doesn't create many great chances. It's not coordinated. They're not running into spaces that they understand why and where and how. They're just hoping that a ball falls, to Lilepo and he hits it into the corner. Which is fine if you can overwhelm a team, if you can play a quote-unquote weaker team and overwhelm them, maybe you score something. But against Pirates, we saw then in the second half, when now Chiefs was chasing the game, they brought in a whole bunch of people who didn't know where to go. You saw Morris coming in, you saw Dupree's there, and they were just running all over the place, allowing Pirates to hit them. What Kaizer Chiefs needs to focus on in this game is a lot of what they did versus Mamelodi Sundowns. They were structured, they were cautious, and they were focused. You saw the left and right back getting covered. You saw Modi playing far more defensively than I've ever seen him play. And then when they were going forward, they were only ever committing 2 or 3 players. And I think that cover is going to be very important. Because on the left-hand side, Cross is gone. And say what you want about Cross, but the last few games, he had been improving. On the other side, you have Solomons, who's got pace, who's got everything. And it sort of makes him a little bit over-eager to want to go forward, and because he believes he's got the pace, he thinks that he can track back that way. And I'm going to speak about how Pirates can take advantage of that, but that is the weakness, the points of weakness with Kaizer Chiefs. Also, the fact that we don't play with a defensive 6. The past few games we've been seeing Kele, we've been seeing Ngobo, we've been seeing Sirino, we've been seeing Mart, we've been seeing players that don't play the CDM role. And when you don't have a proper CDM, you then put your defense under even more pressure because there's spaces just in front of them that open up that you have to look out for. Especially owing to the fact that you've got Dove, who's been playing centre back, who wants to jump out for danger. If you don't have a CDM, he goes out for danger and puts everybody else at risk because now they have to cover. Quinica was having to cover that space. And Pirates loves that because if Dove starts as a centre back, I'd imagine Makgopa will be able to pull Dove out of that centre back position and create the little holes that Mfukeng and Kota love. And depending on whether they play Dlamini or whether they play Tito, you might see a Dlamini almost swapping with Makgopa to create a three-man up front. And then, you know, Tito has been dropping back quite a bit. We'll get to Pirates, but that is the worry I have for Kaizer Chiefs. Unless you see Mtetwa come into the game and you tell him to sit, right? I think Kaizer Chiefs needs to decide how they want to attack these games because Pirates has two distinct weaknesses that Kaizer Chiefs may be well equipped to take advantage of. Number one, aerial balls. When I think of Morris, I think of the game that he played for Supersport where he scored versus Chiefs. Out wide, bring it in, boom, header, he scores. I think of a Chivavairo who's a physical presence in the box. He could be a physical presence that causes problems with high balls. I think of a Castillo who makes late far post runs and headers the balls back in. Very, very good at making those runs. That's one way you can approach it. The weakness of this way is that I don't think Kaizer Chiefs has players that are adept at bringing the ball in. You know, Frosler used to be able to do it. You could maybe ask a Mashiani to do it, but for the most part, there's nobody who can find the ball or can find that looping ball or that crossed ball. Lilepo is also somebody who can be a physical presence. But because you can't find that ball, you might be wasting your time. You look at a Supersport when they were doing that very well. You look at your Campbells who are playing those balls through. You think about Imakesi with Chirambadare playing balls, playing those crosses in. I don't think we have those players. But then there's another weakness that Pirates has that Chiefs may be uniquely equipped to take advantage of. And that's that we've seen Oki playing games. I don't know if Jose is going to drop him. I think he's probably going to try that back three thing he did with Okis BC and Bogazi. But in any case, there is an opportunity to take advantage of the wide channels where Van Rooyen usually leaves, Hotto usually leaves, and they push all the way up. And if you can get the centre backs uncomfortable, drag Koki out, drag, okay, Mbogazi is a lot stronger, drag SBC out, try put them into foul trouble, counter them, hit them on the counter. You think about Stellenbosch, how Titus scored versus Pirates, hit them on the counter. Hamba to Pries, use his pace, use the ball in behind, take advantage of the slowness. You could see something there. But those are two distinct, different ways of play, right? One needs crossing, one needs central play. And maybe that's where you see Abotsele combining with Abosirino in order to release those guys. It'll have to be a little bit quicker, but it's two ways. And I think Coach Nabi's one weakness has been that he's been mixing the ways to play. Let's talk about Pirates. Okay, so I know I stopped the video a lot and a lot of you are wondering, why are you asking for money? So I wanted to show you. I asked for money because I want to do more of this. Huh? But the truth of the matter is that it took over an hour in order just to render that shot. And it takes even longer when I'm doing my normal content because guys, here's the unsung hero of the channel. And unfortunately, Shem, but the screen is broken. I have to use a second screen and the performance is not up to it. So I'd really love to upgrade things like that. And when you look over here, this is what the setup looks like. Rehenga di patlo and rehenga di green screen, which is a reality of being a South African content creator. Also, this is what people think is my studio. It's actually my house. So if you still don't know that I'm doing all of this from my home, then I don't know. But that is essentially what I want to do. More of these cool things. But I need you guys to please help me out by donating 50 Rand or more into this account. You know, we're fighting for multi-choice. And multi-choice, but these subscription models all over the place. And I'd love to give the biggest quality while also being able to pay my rent and do things like that. That is where your money is going. And I promise to give you only the best content that I can if you do throw something in. So I just wanted to show you guys what I want to do with your money. I want to take this South African football and fulfill my dream of taking it into the future. But thank you guys so much. Remember, this is the bank account that you deposit into. Get back into the video. Pirates is a great team. Pirates this season has developed a side of their game where the aim is to outlast your opponent if you can outfocus your opponent. And especially in the league where most teams sort of fall asleep. They have really good 20-25 minute runs. But if you can survive that, you then get the chance to go and hit them. And this is what they're going to face when they're playing versus Kaizer Chiefs. It's a team that's going to be dangerous for 20-25 minutes, but doesn't have a plan B. And Coach Jose in the first game last week, brought in a Dlamini sub at the right time to allow Pirates to take advantage of the spaces that Chiefs was now leaving when they were chasing the game. I think Coach Jose is adept at making those subs. Now, the weaknesses when it comes to Orlando Pirates, there's a couple of them. And it's something they need to address sometimes with the depth that they have on the bench. Number one, the midfield. If you watch a lot of Pirates games, they struggle in building the ball up. They struggle in taking the ball from chain into a defender up. And if you watch Mbogazi has almost taken the role of Olisanda. I always call Olisanda the real playmaker at Orlando Pirates because when he's on the pitch, everything goes through him. And the issue is that there's nobody in midfield that is willing to come and collect the ball. That's why you watch Tito dropping all the way back. But Makaula and Mbata don't fetch the balls. So Mbogazi then gets that ball and he's forced to play long diagonal passes. Same with Uchain. Chain will get the ball and try play the ball long because there's nobody who you can play to. Now, Chiefs doesn't press as well as other teams, so you might not feel the pressure as much. But the problem with the long diagonal balls is that Umfuke and Nonkota are really good with the ball at their feet. If he can get the ball and turn and face the defender, it's late for that defender. But if it's a high ball, it's a physical challenge now. And it's a 50-50 high ball, which means that I can, they're small. You can win those battles. You saw Solomon's trying to rough up Mfukeng quite a bit in the first game. So that is one of the weaknesses that Pirates has, the inability to play the ball up, right, at times. But where they cover for that is being patient. And when they're patient, they wait for you to overcommit, then they transition on you. So the moment you think about moments versus Chiefs, the 2-1 now, where Chiefs now has to make the decision to go forward and commit players and get caught out. You think about CR Peluisdad, who at some point in that away game was pushing everybody to try and get that point, right? And that immediately allowed Pirates to transition and go score. I think Evidence Makhupa is going to be an incredible player here, as I outlined earlier. Because he likes to drop in, he pulls up a Tove. But the nice thing about Makhupa is that he's also an outlet for those long passes. Maybe you don't have to go to the side. Maybe you go direct and you let him win the first ball and sort of cheat. You cheat to get into the final third, which can be something that you take advantage of Chiefs of, because that defense is a ball-watching defense. And maybe you don't need Abomfukeng to be on islands, especially in the beginning of the game. Maybe you need them to just come a little bit closer and take advantage of the little spaces that will pop up as the Chiefs defense goes to sleep, as the Chiefs defense doesn't track runners or track the ball. So that is going to play a very key role in this game for Orlando Pirates. One of the decisions they have to make is when to play Mabasa, number one. Number two, if Tito, Mfukeng, and Mahupa can play in the same team. Now we've seen Tito and Rile play last season. They connected very well. There was an experiment that Coach Jose was trying to bring him into the center and make him a 10, but that kind of crowded Tito out and forced him to go back, which took him away. But if they can focus on that, I think Pirates can get something from that relationship, especially if they overload. Now, I'm not sure who's going to be playing the right back. If it's Solomon's and you overload him with Tito, Mfukeng, and Hoto, you could probably break that side a lot easier. Similar to the other side, even though they don't normally do it, if you have Van Rooyen making the inside run and you have Nkota pulling his man to the side, maybe 1v1, similar to what he did to Cross, and then maybe having a top-of-the-box run, like a top-of-the-box player who can shoot from like the D, that could be where they break Chiefs apart. Chiefs doesn't have composure in defense. When you talk about the midfield, I think Makaula is an incredible cleaner of that space. And him cleaning so well, I don't know if this was forced by him doing it well or was a tactic that Chiefs like to do, but it kind of forced the players to have to leave the center and go out wide. And that's where we lost Sirino for a very long time, where he wasn't in it. So that's going to be a very interesting battle, because if Chiefs again choose to go Sirino, Cele, it's not a defensive mid. Very attacking. Makaule will have a lot to do, but in terms of the return, I think you'll see Mbata come into the game more. You'll see Tito come into the game more. You might see Mbata shooting from the outside. Now, to be fair, Tito might not start, right, in this game. I'm not sure if he would start or if it's somebody that Coach Jose wants to bring in, because Jose, like I always say, is a master of moments. But I think the first game is going to influence this game a lot. And I think Chiefs will be hoping for Pirates to be overconfident, similar to how they ended that game, the first game, overconfident. And Pirates will be hoping that Chiefs maybe gets caught out by, wanting to go win. The psychological part of this game is so incredible to think about. Just think about it. It's Jose's last dance. You have now had the disappointment of losing out of the on the CAF Champions League. The league is looking like it's a stretch to try catch. So maybe you come into this game with a little bit too much energy, in that this is, okay, at the very least we've maintained and we've got the 2 trophies again, right? So the psychological part is insane, because with Jose leaving, you think about, sometimes you want to do too much for a person, or sometimes you want to show too much love, or sometimes you want to prove too much and you end up messing it up, especially knowing that that person is leaving. So that's going to be interesting, because on the one hand, yes, negatively, like I'm saying, it could become too much, but positively, it could energize your team just enough, and Pirates is a very scary team, because 1 goal can become 2, can become 3, can become 4, can become 5 if they energize the right way. When it comes to Kaizer Chiefs, what's interesting about them is that they come into this game almost carrying 10 years of pressure on them. This game has 10 years of pressure in it. And one of 2 things can happen. Number 1, too much energy. You come in trying to prove yourself and do everything right and do extra and all of that and mess up the game, or you shrink. And I'd love to see something different from the Chiefs players, in that maybe this time they don't shrink. This time they don't get smaller. Maybe this time they absorb and accept the limelight. But up to this point, every time we've had a tough moment, they've shrunk. Now, give them credit for the Sundowns game. They stayed in that game for as long as possible. eventually winning it. Whether offside or not, that's not what I'm going to debate here. So psychologically, that's interesting. Also, these two teams sit at very different places where this cup could also mean something different. Kaizer Chiefs, if they win this trophy, I think pressure on Nabi will be lifted. Pressure in the transfer window. Pressure tactically, pressure on the players, pressure on all of that. I think a lot of the sins from this season would be forgiven if they win that trophy. And maybe he faces a second season at Kaizer Chiefs where he's got a lot more control, but a lot more quiet control. He's gotten a lot of leeway from Chiefs fans, but winning a trophy would probably take them all the way over. And I think he would be coaching from a very comfortable position. On the other side, Pirates sits with the real possibility that you could win this game and win the trophy and finish and get the 6 trophies in 3 years and not win a trophy again because you're bringing somebody in that's new, which is going to have a lot of questions. Are the youngsters going to be trusted by the new coach? Is the new coach going to fit into the system? Will they adapt as quickly as Jose did to use this foundation that they have right now? But it could also be the beginning of the end, or at the very least, the start of something different, where Pirates might need to go through a season or two without trophies. So it's such an interesting game, you know, on top of it being a derby. We all know about derby stress and the size of the derby games and how important they are and how charged they are. I mean, if you watch any of the marketing that's happening right now, both teams are in Durban, both teams are going crazy. They are Masimlazi, others are over here, they're having pop-ups and activations. That just tells you how big this game is, and that comes with its own pressure on top of it. So very, very, very interesting game that we're looking forward to. Obviously, I'm a Chiefs fan. I'm hoping the Chiefs wins, but I think it's going to be a very close game. And if anything, Pirates is probably going to shade the win unless Chiefs can pull something out. And nothing flashy, but just to focus. But I'm looking forward to that game. I'll see you guys on the next one.